There's insects that like the body at different stages of decomposition. So, and insects follow pretty hard, fast rules of growth. So, you leave a piece of meat out on the counter, a couple of days later, you see maggots. And for a long time, people thought, oh, maggots spontaneously combust, or they just spontaneously generate out of meat. Like you leave meat on, all of a sudden there's maggots, but it's not that's not the case. The flies come and land on it, and they lay eggs, and then the little maggots start eating what's in there and grow. But they, given the same temperatures, same conditions, they grow at a pretty steady rate. So you can get an idea of when the fly was on there laying eggs, depending on the stages of the maggots that are there, and what we call them instars. So when they lay a first egg, then the larva starts to grow. It goes through various instars where it'll molt. They have an exoskeleton, not an internal skeleton, so they can't just do absolute growth. They have to grow to their skin limits, and then they shed that. They grow it. They have another one coming inside, so that's the next instar. Then they shed that and grow the next instar, and they get bigger and bigger until they go to the pupal stage. And the pupa is kind of stops growing, usually has a harder case, stops eating while it turns into an adult fly, and then it will hatch out and hopefully find another fly and find more rotten flesh and lay eggs on it.
And we're grateful for that. Yeah, as you established, we probably as humans, we really just don't like to think about that. It takes a special person who wants to think about that, but thank goodness they do because of what we learn, right? So you mentioned something about like at a given temperature. So in the case of Gabby Petito, where she was outdoors, from the helicopter shots and everything that I've seen, it appears that her body was found in kind of a stony, maybe even like there was some dirt, but lots of rocks, kind of along a creek in the, late August to mid to late September of Wyoming and up in the Tetons. So I'm not sure what elevation they were at, but I would imagine it's pretty high elevation, 5,000, 6,000 feet, something like that. Would a forensic entomologist take all of that into consideration in figuring out, the decay of the body?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to know what organisms are there. There's lots of different kinds of flies, depending on the part of the world you're in. So you got to know what to expect there. Different beetles are going to come to the body as well. Also, there's going to be a whole host of different insects that will be attracted to a body that's outdoors like that. But you're going to have to take into consideration elevation as too, like you said, how hot it is during the day and how cold it is during the night. Usually they'll try and average out temperatures over time because that does make a difference in how fast that little fly can grow, right? And so, it's going to be baking hot sun during the day in Wyoming in August. I've been there lots of times in the summertime. It's brutally hot for the most part, especially this year it was really hot. And so all has to be taken into consideration. So it's not terribly easy. I'll say that forensic entomologists have their work cut out for them. You got to start with working with some pretty gross circumstances, unfortunately, but you also have to be very thorough, very careful. You have to be very thoughtful about it and try and think through what are the conditions, plus, well, there's just so many things that can go into it. You can go through multiple cycles. She was out there. How many days did you say?
So the coroner says 3 to 4 weeks. I think that we've narrowed it down, though, to probably August 27th to September 19th. Okay. Whatever that turns out to be. What is that? 19? That's like just over 3 weeks.
Over 3 weeks. So a lot of the things that are going to come first to that body will have actually gone and left. The things that need really fresh. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be too graphic, but
go ahead.
Try to consider the audience. It's going to be fresh flesh that's going through the early stages of rotting versus what's going to be coming around later on. Things will eat hides. They'll eat everything down to the bone eventually. And I imagine she was pretty far along, having been 3.5 weeks or so.